It was a sunny afternoon at the local park, and the aroma of freshly baked cookies and cupcakes filled the air. A young black girl, Maya, stood proudly behind her bake sale table, raising money for her school trip. Her bright smile and hard work drew in customers from all around. But the peaceful scene took a sudden turn when two police officers approached her table with stern expressions. Their voices were cold, questioning Maya about permits and regulations in a way that felt far more intense than the situation called for. People began to gather, uneasy at the unfolding scene. Just as it seemed the officers might shut down Maya's bake sale, a confident woman stepped out of the crowd. Her presence was commanding, her words deliberate. What happened next would change everything, sending a powerful message about standing up for what's right. The woman who stepped forward was Grace Daniels, a respected lawyer and community advocate known for her sharp mind and unwavering dedication to justice. She was dressed casually, but her presence commanded attention. As she approached the officers, the tension in the air thickened. Grace asked calmly, but firmly, why they were targeting Maya's small bake sale. Her tone wasn't aggressive, but it carried a weight that made the officers hesitate. Meanwhile, Maya stood frozen, clutching her apron. She had worked tirelessly baking treats with her mom the night before, excited to raise money for her school trip. The crowd around them murmured in confusion and concern. Was this really about a permit, or was it something else? Grace wasn't backing down. She pointed out that there were other vendors in the park who weren't being questioned. The officers shifted uncomfortably, but their response left everyone stunned. One of the officers finally broke the silence, claiming they had received a complaint about Maya's bake sale causing a disturbance. The crowd exchanged skeptical glances. The park was buzzing with families, joggers, and other small vendors, none of whom seemed to be bothered by the cheerful little stand. Grace narrowed her eyes, sensing something deeper at play. Maya's mother, who had been quietly standing nearby, stepped forward, her voice shaking but steady. "Why is my daughter's table the only one being questioned?" she asked. The officers avoided eye contact, mumbling something about following protocol. The crowd grew restless, whispers of support for Maya rippling through. From the sidelines, an elderly vendor who had been selling handmade crafts all morning spoke up. "I've been here for hours, and no one's asked me for a permit." His words added fuel to the growing unease. Grace turned back to the officers, her voice steady but firm. "This isn't about a permit, is it?" she asked. The silence that followed was deafening. The officers exchanged uneasy glances, their confidence clearly shaken as the crowd grew larger. Grace stepped closer, her voice ringing with clarity. "If this is about a complaint, then let's see the proof. Show us the policy you're enforcing so we can all understand." The crowd murmured their agreement, a mix of curiosity and outrage swelling around them. Maya clung to her mother's hand, her eyes wide with fear, but also a flicker of hope. One officer fumbled with his radio while the other tried to assert control. "Ma'am, we don't need to explain ourselves. If she doesn't have a permit, she needs to pack up." Grace raised her eyebrows, her calm demeanor unwavering. "And yet, you haven't even asked anyone else here for one." She gestured toward the craft vendor and another person selling fresh lemonade nearby. The tension reached a boiling point as more people began filming with their phones, capturing every word. The officers seemed trapped, their authority slipping away under the weight of so many eyes. "We're just doing our job," one muttered, but the excuse felt hollow. Grace leaned in, her voice sharp now. "Your job is to serve and protect, not to harass a child trying to do something good." The crowd cheered softly, but the officers didn't back down. Instead, they turned their focus to Grace, threatening to escalate the situation if she didn't step away. The atmosphere was electric, every moment stretching unbearably as everyone waited to see what would happen next. Just as it seemed the tension couldn't climb any higher, a sleek black car pulled up at the edge of the park. A tall man in a crisp suit stepped out, his presence instantly commanding attention. Whispers rippled through the crowd as people recognized him. David Carter, a well-known journalist and civil rights advocate who had exposed similar cases in the past. Someone must have tipped him off about what was happening. Carter walked straight toward the scene, phone in hand, already recording. "Officers," he said, his voice steady but piercing, "can you explain why you're targeting this child's bake sale while ignoring the other vendors? This footage will be seen by thousands, maybe more, so I suggest you choose your next words carefully." The officers stiffened, their frustration now mixed with panic. They had no way of knowing how far this could spiral. One officer tried to deflect, but Carter interrupted, pointing to the crowd. "These people deserve answers. Is this how you treat every young entrepreneur, or does this situation feel different to you?" As the crowd murmured louder, someone shouted, "It's not right. She's just a kid." Maya looked up at Grace and Carter, her expression shifting from fear to determination. It was clear the officers were on the defensive, but instead of retreating, they doubled down. The senior officer called for backup, raising the stakes even higher. The sight of additional patrol cars pulling up left everyone on edge, uncertain of what would happen next. As the backup officers stepped out of their cars, the crowd braced for confrontation. Grace stood her ground, her voice cutting through the tension. "This is harassment, plain and simple. And now, with cameras everywhere, the world will see it too." Her words struck a nerve. The senior officer, visibly uncomfortable, gestured for his team to stand down, but the damage was already done. Before the officers could leave, Carter spoke up again. "Not so fast. You owe this child and her family an apology. What you did here today wasn't just wrong, it was unacceptable." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause, their voices echoing through the park. The officers hesitated before muttering a half-hearted apology, but the energy had shifted. Maya, emboldened by the support, stepped forward and said, "You can't scare me. I just wanted to help my school." Her courage left everyone speechless. Then, in a surprising twist, a woman from the crowd revealed herself as a local council member. She approached Maya and smiled warmly. "I came to buy some cupcakes, but I see there's more work to do. Maya, let's make your bake sale the centerpiece of next weekend's community event." The crowd cheered louder, the officers retreated, and Maya's stand became a symbol of resilience. As the crowd dispersed, Grace and Carter exchanged a knowing look. This wasn't just a victory for Maya, it was a wake-up call for the community. And though the day ended in triumph, it was clear the fight for fairness and justice was far from over. As the sun began to set over the park, Maya's bake sale became the talk of the day. With the council members' promise of support, more people lined up to buy her treats, turning what started as a tense confrontation into a celebration of community. Maya's mother hugged her tightly, pride shining in her eyes. Grace stayed to ensure everything was calm, offering words of encouragement to Maya and her family before quietly slipping away, her job done for now. David Carter posted the story online, highlighting Maya's bravery and the community's response. Within hours, it went viral, sparking conversations about fairness and accountability. Messages of support poured in from all over, with people inspired by Maya's determination. By the end of the day, Maya had raised more than enough for her school trip, but she gained something far greater, a reminder that standing up for what's right can bring people together and create lasting change.